breaking news that could affect your pocketbook. J.P. Morgan just revealing an August data breach could affect 76 million households.
Reuters is reporting that more than 30 lawsuits have been filed in the United States against the agency.
Stole contact information like names and addresses from customers, but J.P. Morgan claims they have.
That is 44%
we didn't take a broad enough view of our responsibility,
and that was a big mistake. Data breach
and it was my mistake, and I'm sorry.
More than 21 million Americans had personal information stolen from government files in a data breach that was 6 times as large as originally disclosed. The information was hacked from the Office of Personnel Management, or OPM.
We have some more breaking news. This is troubling news. More trouble for Yahoo.
Well, Home Depot says it has just completed its investigation. Remember, there were recent reports of some sort of breach.
This course is called Preventing Data Breaches with A1Logic. This course covers the basic security concepts needed to prevent data breaches. It goes through the fundamental security concepts of information security and covers what the industry is doing, not doing, and should be doing to protect data. Then, it gives an overview of the information security market landscape today, followed by recommending new concepts that information security professionals should keep in mind when designing an organization's information security program. In Part 1, we will discuss what a data breach is, and then go over some of the history of data breaches as it applies to the industry, and show why the industry is failing, and finally talk about attacker motivation. A data breach is when private information is visible to unauthorized parties. Data breaches are so common that Europe's new GDPR data privacy law now directly addresses it. A data breach must be at a scale that is larger than what a human can remember, type up, write on paper, or otherwise manually reproduce. For example, a top executive telling a secret to somebody else is not a data breach, but losing millions of credit card numbers or files is a data breach. Data breaches hurt brands and erode customer trust. For example, Yahoo's data breach costed them $350 million in their valuation when they were being acquired by Verizon. Over the last few years, the magnitude and frequency of data breaches have increased, making it a regular news headline. In the US, we have heard about major brands getting breached, but these breaches are small in comparison to the Yahoo data breach and the Indian government's Aadhaar citizen database data breach, which lost about 2.1 billion records. The Aadhaar data breach is one of the biggest data breaches recorded in history. Data breaches threaten all organizations, from finance companies to retailers to governments to tech companies. They threaten any organization that has private data that it wants to keep confidential. The industry today is failing, and attackers are winning due to many factors. First of all, security products assume trust in users, devices, and networks, which is rarely the case. Also, the software and networks in today's enterprises are extremely large and complex, and there is rarely one person who has end-to-end knowledge of an organization's topology. Additionally, it is difficult for enterprises to track what data is theirs and where it is stored and when it is used. Also, as the world just saw in the case of Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, with today's technology, sharing data implies giving up control over the data. Finally, security goes against usability of a system, where users want usability and IT administrators want security. Malicious insiders are members of an organization who violate the trust that the organization has in them. As far as cybersecurity, this trust could involve protecting the confidentiality of sensitive data, such as intellectual property or other secrets. Malicious insiders are still an unsolved problem in the cybersecurity industry today. A prime example of a malicious insider, regardless of political beliefs, is Edward Snowden at the US National Security Agency. He was trusted by NSA to work with sensitive data and held a security clearance. He became famous for becoming a whistleblower and causing a massive data breach of NSA's classified information by stealing up to 1 million documents from NSA on a USB drive. Let's hear what Edward Snowden has to say in his own words.
My name's Ed Snowden. I'm 29 years old. I work for Booz Allen Hamilton as an infrastructure analyst for NSA in Hawaii.
One of the things people are going to be most interested in trying to understand who you are and what you're thinking is there came some point in time when you crossed this line of thinking about being a whistleblower to making the choice to actually become a whistleblower. Walk people through that decision-making process.
When you're in positions of privileged access, like a systems administrator for these sort of intelligence community agencies, you're exposed to a lot more information on a broader scale than the average employee. And because of that, you see things that may be disturbing, but over the course of a normal person's career, you'd only see one or two of these instances. When you see everything, you see them on a more frequent basis. And you recognize that some of these things are actually abuses. And when you talk to people about them in a place like this, where this is the normal state of business, people tend not to take them very seriously and move on from them. But over time, that awareness of wrongdoing sort of builds up, and you feel compelled to talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the more you're ignored, the more you're told it's not a problem. Until eventually you realize that these things need to be determined by the public, not by somebody who was simply hired by the government.
We just saw an interview with Edward Snowden, who falls into the third category of a whistleblower. Attacker motivation falls into three main categories: nation-states, criminal gangs, and hacktivists. Nation-state adversaries are politically motivated and are particularly dangerous because they have huge government-backed budgets and look for both information to compromise national security and gain industrial advantages. A prime example is when U.S. defense contractor Lockheed Martin's F-35 fighter jet designs were stolen by China for use in the Chinese military through a cyber attack and a data breach that resulted. Criminal gangs are usually financially motivated and are looking for information with financial value. They can be demotivated by increasing the attacker cost. Finally, hacktivists are politically or ideologically motivated whistleblowers or groups that are trying to get attention or have some other agenda.